Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Anikoluna here in Nigeria. After weeks of unrest triggered by protests against police brutality, there are investigations underway across the country and in Lagos against police brutality and into the alleged fatal shooting of perhaps a dozen protesters in Lagos by armed men in military uniform. A panel is now sitting in Abuja to hear evidence of human rights abuses by the armed forces. It's known officially as the Independent Investigative Panel on Human Rights Violations by the defunct SARS Squad and other units of the Nigerian police. The panel has been calling for the submission of petitions and says it has received dozens of complaints from Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. At its inaugural sitting, the tribunal said its focus is to ensure that justice is delivered to both complainants and alleged abusers of human rights. Well, Arise correspondent Punarimam Fehintola has been attending the tribunal sessions, and she joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So just give us briefly an idea of what's been happening there. They started work on Wednesday, didn't they?
Yes. They actually started yesterday with the inaugural sitting, which the Human Rights Commission, the Executive Secretary of the Human Rights Commission was there, and then during his opening remarks, he told us that so far they have received about 150 petitions from the Federal Capital Territory and also the geopolitical zones across Nigeria. So the Human Rights Commissioner, the Executive Secretary of the Human Rights Commission actually says that they are extending dates of receiving such petitions, because what he is trying to say is that people can still come and submit their petitions if they have to. They extended the date so that more people can bring in their petitions. And the chairman of the panel is actually a former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Suleiman Galadima, who says that he's asking for cooperation of the Nigerian police, federal government, the human rights experts, and the youth generally to, so that the mandates that they were given to ensure justice is achieved, So the NBA, a representative from the NBA,
that's the Nigerian Bar
Association, yes, they were present as well. And they also said that they will collaborate with the Human Rights Commission so that they can offer the service of pro bono to anyone who doesn't have a lawyer, so it's a free legal service, as it may be. So basically that was what happened. But in the course after the inaugural ceremony, they were able to, talk about, listen to some petitions that were brought before the panel. 2 were that of a guy who says that he was shot by a police stray bullet during the Shiite movement protest in Abuja. So the question was, how were you sure that the bullet came from the Nigerian police? Because it was actually a crisis at that point in time. So he was asking for a compensation of 25 million naira for trauma, for the loss of finances, income and all of those. Yeah. So, but the panel said they will go back and review all his claims and then do their due diligence and then revert back.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously that panel is in addition to the state panels that have already been set up. Is there much confidence? I mean, talking to people in Abuja, yourself and so on, do you detect much confidence in the fact that this is an additional panel and therefore it suggests that there's considerable seriousness on the part of the government to actually get to the bottom of all this?
Yes, actually, because this panel is set up by the federal government, and because of the long call and the long screaming of people saying that they actually need government to intervene in this issue. So if government doesn't do this, it just shows that they don't care, or they don't want to listen to the plight of the people. And then looking at the team so far, you will say that you could have some kind of confidence that the panel will be fair in their judgment, because the chairman of the panel is actually an experienced person, experienced lawyer at Supreme Court, justice for that matter. So him and then some other human rights experts who were not government workers, as you may know. So those ones are also part of the panel. Then also there are the Nigerian police force. There are also members from the staff of the Nigerian police force, or officers from the Nigerian police force are also in that panel. Then we also have representatives of the Nigerian youth. Those ones are also there. So I don't think it will be easy to manipulate the investigation.
So there is a case to be made, really, that particularly since the allegations are being brought against the Nigerian police, and given the fact that the Nigerian police are federally controlled rather than state controlled, it would make sense, wouldn't it, for the federal government to have its own inquiry?
Yes, I think yes. I think that is one of the reasons the federal government has set up this panel, because if there's also this part where we got information that as soon as this panel are done with their investigation, their findings and recommendations will be sent to the Attorney General's office. So that is where they will decide what kind of prosecution that will be melted.
Because my next obvious question was going to be that the big issue remains the implementation of the outcome of the investigation.
Of course, I think that once the issue gets, the truth of the matter is the world is watching. That is one. The world is watching and everyone is interested in this issue.
But the world tends to get bored after a while. So the longer you drag it out, the less it's likely that people's attentions will be held.
Yes, because the sitting is going to last for 6 months. So I think because of that reason, and then the outcry, the protests, how the youth came out, I don't think it would be fair if there's any sort of manipulation in this investigation.
Right, and there is the issue of coming forward to give evidence. I mean, you've mentioned, one person who turned up there because of the lack of trust that people have with, panels such as these. Some people have said they're afraid to speak up because of retribution. And the possibility of victimization. I mean, did the panel address any of that?
They actually didn't, but they gave their confidence. They actually said that Nigerians should be confident on this investigation, that they will do all that it takes to ensure that justice is served. And they also said that Nigerians should also know that this investigation will continue to be as open as it should be, and the media is there. Like what happened today after the first hearing, the respondent was not in court, the counsel was not in court, the complainant was also not in court. So what the chairman of the panel said was that the attendants should ensure that he reads out the case out so that media personnel that are there will be able to know what the case is all about. So they try as much as they can to be open, but we'll keep a tap on the investigation as time goes by.
Right, and are you going to be, I mean, how many days a week do they sit?
Okay, they said they'll be sitting 3 times a week, 1 week on and then 1 week off until 6 months.
Right, okay. Well, I want to thank you very much indeed, and obviously you'll be keeping an eye on things for us.
Definitely.
And we will follow this up again with subsequent interviews with you as more interesting cases come to that panel, and we hear the outcome, basically. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much for having me.
Punarimam Fehintola is an Arise correspondent, and she's been attending the tribunal sessions here in Abuja. The tribunal is, of course, set up to investigate police abuses. That's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja, in the UK and the United States. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.